गुरुभ्यो नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देव महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषयपौराणां विधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभः निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गजाननं भूतगणाधिपतिं गपत्यं बहुप्रसारभक्षितं उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम्। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेद्विघ्नोपशान्तये व्यासम् अष्टनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मकं देशगदातं दुभानिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णुवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधे वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. So we were looking at Vidura neeti, Vidura giving advice to the Dhritarashtra when he called him middle of the night saying that I'm not getting sleep. I don't know what Sanjay is going to say. So then Vidura was explaining what is the right thing to do, what is the duty is going to look like, what is dharma, and he was explaining that famously known as Vidura Niti. And let's continue with that. And Vidura continues saying that explains that there are 6 faults one should avoid. That is, the person who wishes to attain prosperity, he should avoid 6 faults, 6 mistakes. One is sleeping, drowsiness, fear, anger, indolence, and procrastination. That's laziness. So those things one should avoid. Then 6 things one should renounce. Uh, that is a guru who could not teach on the Shastras. The one who does not know scripture Shastras, if he starts teaching, such a guru one should give up, should go somewhere else. A priest who is illiterate, the one who has not studied the Veda, such a priest one should uh, renounce, should not go with to such priest. King who is unable to protect, wife who speaks disagreeable words, who is always harsh and she speaks disagreeable words, a coward who does not go to fields, who does not look after the cows, and a barber who wishes to renounce the village and go to, that means he wants to become a sannyasi. If a barber wants to become a sannyasi, renounce, don't do not uh, stay in touch with such a barber because he cannot become a sannyasi. So such 6 kind of people should be renounced. A guru who does not know shastras, a priest who does not know Vedas, king who cannot protect, wife who speaks does not speak agreeable words, coward who does not look after the cows, and similarly a barber who wishes to become a sannyasi or yogi. Then also the 6 qualities one should never give up. So those are truth, charity, diligence, benevolence, that is kindness, forgiveness, patience. These are the 6 qualities one should never give up. And these 6, Vidura says that are instantly destroyed if neglected. So if you don't take care of them, they will destroyed. Or those are cows, service, agriculture, wife, learning, and wealth of Shudra. So again, cows one should look after always. Service again, if one is doing service, you cannot take rest and say that I will do it continue tomorrow. You always should be there at it. Agriculture similarly always should look after those. Whatever you have sown, you should always look after. Similarly, wife, one should take care, learning as well, always keep learning. And wealth of the Shudra, again, wealth of Shudra, Shudra cannot accumulate wealth. You learned that right already. So she cannot accumulate, but if Shudra has wealth, so that's always spread by the other people. So that should be, one should look after that. Then these 6, forget that those who have bestowed obligations on them. So if somebody has done something, so these 6 people forget those things. Who are they? The educated students who forget their gurus after education, forget. So if you ask any old person who all the teachers who taught you in the 4th grade, probably you don't remember. Okay, so when you go to high school, you probably forget already the teachers who were there in the primary school. So you always forget those teachers. Similarly, married persons with says that forget their mothers because they are very much focused on their wives. And then persons whose desires have been gratified, they forget the woman. So after the union with woman, they forget the woman. And those who have achieved the success forget the people who have helped them. Similarly, those who cross the river forget the person who actually, the boatman who actually carried them over across the river. And the patient who is cured forgets the physician. The doctor who actually cured him, he forgets that because he is cured and he moves on with his life. So these are the six people who normally forget, Vidura says. Then he says that there are six things which are good for happiness. So those are health, uh, without having any debt, living at one's own home, companionship with good men, and uh, regards certainty of means for livelihood. So that means you know you're going to get a salary this month or you're going to get this much money, so you can live. You have some sort of certainty. You don't know what if the life is like you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, you don't know what's going to happen next month, and or things like that. Then those people will not have happiness. But if certainty is there, then those are the ones living happily. Similarly, those who do not have any fear, not living without fear. That means not any fear, but like, for example, fear of a king or a thief or something like that. Or as previously last time we said, after doing something uh, untruthful or things like that, then you are living in a fear. So that's the without living any fear, such a persons are those are the six qualities that result in happiness. Then these six are always miserable. The person who always envious, malicious, discontented, uh, and who is always irritable, and then always suspicious, and those who depend on the fortunes of others, wealth of the others, those are the six are always miserable. And similarly, the six uh, comprise the happiness of the men. So those are again what makes men happy are the six things, that is acquirement of wealth, uninterrupted health, a beloved wife, sweet speeched wife, a obedient son, and knowledge that is lucrative. That means always you have high rich knowledge on various things. So those are the things that make men happy. And people having gained mastery over six things that are present in the heart, then those are the senses that there they never commit sin. So if one has control over the senses, they never commit sin, and uh, that's uh, that's why they are the good people. Otherwise, they suffer uh, calamity. Then these six who subsist on other sixes. So what are those six? Thieves who always live upon those people who are careless, and doctors, physicians who are always live upon those people who are sick and who are ill, and women always uh, prey upon those people who are having lust, and priests who are always upon those who are looking for sacrifices, looking to perform sacrifices. Kings always upon on those people who are always in quarrel because they benefit from them, so they can acquire their wealth and things like that. And lastly, men who have learning always look upon those people who are without learning. Okay, so because by teaching them and things like that, these people who have learning, they live uh, based by teaching those people who do not have that learning. So these are the six who subsist on other six, as Vidura says. Then he says that there are seven things, seven faults a king should renounce. They are uh, they are the woman, dice, hunting, drinking, harshness of speech, severity of punishment, misuse of wealth. So all these are we came across already. So woman, dice, hunting, drinking, harshness of speech, severity of punishment is interesting one. Here again, Shastra says that king should be looking to forgive where he can. He should be, if someone admits the mistakes and repents it, he should not punish harshly. So that's why it's important, because otherwise, if he punishes everybody uh, too much, then it's not good. Uh, then 8 things. One, Vidura says that are the immediate indication that man is destined for destruction. So those are hating Brahmanas, dispute with Brahmanas, and taking possessions of the Brahmanas' wealth, and taking life of a Brahmana, that is killing a Brahmana, and taking pleasure in uh, uh, reviling Brahmanas. So that means hating Brahmanas, grieving to hear praise of the uh, Brahmana. So if somebody says that that Brahmana is great and has learned, then if it burns your heart, then that's not good. And again, forgetting the Brahmanas in all the ceremonies and occasions, inviting, if you're not inviting them, that's not good. Similarly, if Brahmana asks something, then you become angry, then that's not good. So these are the 8 qualities Vidura says that's will result in immediate destruction. So hating, dispute with Brahmanas, taking wealth, taking life of Brahmana, or speaking against Brahmanas, or even if somebody speaks good of Brahmana, you go against that and those kind of things. One should always give up. One should not. That's why Vidura says that wise men should understand this, and by understanding, they should always give up these kind of things. They should never do this. And then he says 8 things are cream of happiness. They are meeting with friends and uh, giving, acquiring of immense wealth, lot of wealth, embracing a son, a union with wife, conversation with friends in proper times. The and then if somebody who belong to us, if they move forward and they achieve something great, and then acquisition of something that was been anticipated, expected for some time, and then respect in the society. All these things are great achievements, great results, and they are the uh, tip of the happiness, so they are the best of the happinesses. And then 8 qualities that glorify the man, they are wisdom, high birth, self-restraint, learning, prowess, moderation in speech, gift, according to one's power, and gratitude. These are the qualities that glorify a man. And then he speaks of a house as 9 doors. So this is here house. He's talking about the body. So body has 9 openings and 3 pillars and 5 witnesses. 5 witnesses are the senses and things. So this is over ruled by Atma. And a learned man who knows that Atma rules all this body and everything, that person is the wise one. And then Vidura says that these 10 do not know what the virtue is. So those are intoxicated people, inattentive, those who are raving, fatigued, angry, hungry, starving, those who are less hasty, covetous, frightened, lustful, all these people, they do not know what the virtue is and they cannot think what the virtue is. So that's why wise people should always not have company with such a people who are addicted to alcohol or who are inattentive or always angry, uh, always uh, trying to look to eat or always covetous or frightened and lustful and things like that. Such a people one should never have as a companion. Then Vidura says that a king should renounce lust and anger, uh, and also who he also one who gives the wealth on proper recipients and who is discriminating. That means he looks at what is good, bad, and he differentiates those things. And king who is learned, active, is to be regarded as the authority of all the men. He is the real king. The king who actually renounces lust and anger, who gives his wealth to right people, recipients, and then he always discriminates. Here discriminates means is uh, not a particular group of people or something. It's between good and bad. Okay. And then learned, who is always, he's the king who is learned in shastras, that is weapons, who is active, who is not lazy, and such a king is the good king. And he says the great prosperity attends that king who knows to inspire confidence in others. And he gives punishment who are guilt when proved, and he has uh, again looks at the proper measure of punishment. As I said earlier, not always randomly giving punishment and harsh punishment, always giving harsh punishment. He gives the measure of the punishment. He looks at what is proper as per the Shastras. He does that, and he also knows when mercy should be shown. So forgiveness and mercy, when to show that, he should know that. So that's the that king attains prosperity. And he is a wise person who does not disregard a weak foe, the king who always keep an eye on the foe, whether it is weak or strong, always look at the enemy. Even weak enemies can become strong. That's why he should always keep an eye, and he moves with the intelligence of the enemy, based on the enemy's intelligence he gets on the enemy. He makes his move based on that, and always looking for the opportunity to strike that enemy. And he again does not desire hostilities with persons stronger than himself. So he does not go into war with the kings or others enemies who are stronger than himself, and he looks for other means to uh, either make friendship with them or reconciliation or something like that. He goes for other routes, and he always displays his strength in the season when it needs to be done. Okay, irrespective of whether he's strong or not, or whether the enemy is in the right or not, if he need to display strength, he does that. Such a king is the wise king. And Vidura says the person who does not grieve when a calamity happens comes to him, and he does everything with his senses, all his senses under control, who patiently bears all the misery. If anything trouble comes his way, he patiently bears that, and he's always definitely the best of the persons, and all his enemies will be vanquished. So here again, he says that the who, one who does not live away from hope uselessly, and who does not make friends with sinful persons, who never outrages another's wife, never betrays arrogance, and who never commits theft or shows ingratitude or indulgence in drinking, is always happy. So all these people are considered happy. They live happy life, and the one who Vidura says the one is considered as wise, who never boastfully tries to attain the objects of human pursuit. So again, he says that so three objects of human pursuit, that's dharma, artha, kama. So he never goes with very high pride. He is always humble, and who tells the truth, and he does not even quarrel even for the sake of friends, and he never becomes angry, though even he is abused or slighted. So such a person never gets angry. So such a person is considered as wise. He again does not bear malice towards others, but always kind. He is weak, even though uh, weak in disputes. He does not dispute with anybody, and does not speak arrogantly. Forgets a quarrel. He forgives and moves on. Such a person is prized by everybody, and he always the person who assumes always a hearty man, that is an angry face, and the person who never censors others praising himself, uh, uh, and the person who never addresses with harsh words, such a person is always loved. And he who always raked up does not rake up old hostility. So if any old enemy or anything, old quarrel or anything, if it does not rake up those things, and never arrogantly or with too much humility he behaves, and he even when distressed never commits improper act, such a person is respectable. Again, who exerts what is not at his own happiness, and nor delights in others' misery, and who repents, uh, does not repent after making a gift, such a person is of good nature and conduct. The king again who desires to obtain knowledge of the customs of different countries and the languages of different nations and the usage of different orders of men, and is again knows the highs and lows of those countries and wherever he goes and things like that. Such a person is always considered to be he obtains the happiness. So then the Vidura says that the intelligent man is the one who relinquishes the pride, folly, insolence, sinful acts, disloyalty towards the king, crookedness of the behavior, enmity with the many, the quarrels with the men that are drunk, mad, and wicked. So it is such a person is the wise person, is the intelligence person. So Vidura then continues explaining that even devatas giving prosperity who daily practice a self-restraint, purification, auspicious rites, worship of devatas, expiatory ceremonies, and other rites of observance, any vratas and nemas and things like that that one observes. If one does that, such a person will be bestowed with prosperity by the devatas. So Vidura says that the actions of the learned men are always well conceived. Uh, they think a lot before well applied. So their matrimonial knowledge are well applied, equal positions, and not with those who are inferior. And also, he says that those places before him that are more qualified and those who talks and behaves and makes a friends with the equal positions. So these are all happens in the equal positions and equal levels. So matrimonial analysis of marriage happens among the equals, the friendship happens among the equals, and those are the learned men. That's what they do. uh, he says that the one who eats frugally, so it's after dividing food among all the dependents and things, sleeps very little after a lot of work, and only when solicited uh, gives away, even to his enemies he gives away gift. So if the enemy asks something, he still gives away, and who has his entire senses, everything under full control, such a person, the calamities always keep away from such a person. And he says that the person who is whose counsels are well kept and well carried out in practice, and the person who has actions or consequences never known by to injure other men secures the he succeeds in securing the all the objects he is wishing for. And Vidura says that the one who intent is abstaining from the injury of all the creature, who is always truthful, gentle, charitable, pure in mind, always shines. So that such a person never is highly honored, and he is possessed of pure heart, and he shines among all the his energy. He shines like a sun. So Vidura concludes here briefly saying that King Pandu, because of Brahmana's curse, these 5 children born to him were like Indras, 5 Indras. There, you brought up these children, taught them everything. They are obedient to you, your commands, giving them back their share of the kingdom. Oh, sir. So here, Vidura addresses him like father. So because elder brother is considered as a father. So he says addresses him as a father, saying that look after them. So look after them. You also be happy with your sons. So he says that Vidura here tells Pandavas as Dhritarashtra's sons. He tells Dhritarashtra that Yudhishthira and others are your sons. Look after them. They are always obedient to you, and you will inspire by doing that. You will inspire the confidence in both devatas and men. So that means entire world will be happy by doing that. So do that. So Vidura says that, and then Dhritarashtra, listening to all this, he says that, Mom, I'm still sleepless and burning with anxieties. You are among all of us, you are the most learned one with all the dharma, artha, everything you have learned very much. Tell me what is good for Yudhishthira and what is good for Kurus. Tell me, see, difference here is Vidura just now said, look after them as your sons to Dhritarashtra. Okay, so that means treat them as your sons. And the next question Dhritarashtra comes is, tell me what is good for Yudhishthira and what is good for Kurus. So here Dhritarashtra saying that Kurus are his sons and Yudhishthira, Ajatashatru, he is saying as if not his son. Okay, and in reality, Yudhishthira is also a Kuru because he came from the Kuru's race, right? So if you go back to Adi Parva, there is a king called Kuru, and that's why entire generation from there is called Kurus. So just as much as Dhritarashtra's sons are Kurus, same level, same thing. Pandavas also could be called Kurus. But here Dhritarashtra immediately, just now Vidura said, look after them as your sons. Dhritarashtra comes and says, what is good for Yudhishthira, what is good for Kurus. So he's still in his head, he still can't think them as his son, his children. He is still thinking that they are Pandavas, Pandu's sons, and Duryodhana is my son and he is the Kuru. So he asked for more advice and tell me more about what exactly in Yudhishthira's mind, what he might be sending. Uh, I'm, I'm, I had done some previously some wrong things, but I want you to tell me all the things that what might be in Yudhishthira's mind. So Vidura then says that even if unasked, when one speaking, we should always speak what is good. Uh, whether its words be good or bad or hateful or pleasing or whatever it is. So you you should always speak truthfully. So and therefore I will say what is good for the Kurus. So Vidura here says Kurus, but he meant what is good for entire Kurus, not just Pandavas and Dhritarashtra's sons. He says entire Kurus, what is good. So the difference between the two Kurus used here, Dhritarashtra using Kurus as his sons, himself and his sons, whereas Vidura using Kurus as the entire Pandava Kauravas together, he's saying that Kuru race. So I'll tell you what is good for everybody. Listen to me. And Vidura again then continues. He says that do not set heart upon the success that are unjust and improper. So again, these are all advice from Vidura to Dhritarashtra to a king. Okay, but all this applies to everybody because one should not try to achieve something by unjust or improper means. It's a common rule. It applies to king, it applies to a common man. So again, Vidura says a man of intelligence must not grieve if any purpose of his does not succeed. As long as he does his application, he does his work, he does his put his effort in fair and proper means. So if one does everything by proper means, unjustfully and fairly, he does not achieve succeed, he does not achieve success, still that's fine. He should not grieve for that. But one before one engaging in an action, one should consider the competence of that's going to do, the nature of the action itself, its purpose, and all these because the success depends on all these things. The action depends on all these things. So who is going to do this? How they're going to do it? What type of action is this? What is that purpose of that? What it's going to achieve? All those things one should look and it should be just, it should be proper, it should be fair. Considering this, one should begin to act and not just take up an action or something, a decision or something to do something in an impulse. So always think about it and then do it. So Vidura says the one should is that the wise person the person is considered wise who do not act or desist from it fully, considering his own ability, nature of the actions, consequences of success. So whether he is going to be successful or not, who is going to do it, and ability and all those things, measuring all that only one should take. King again, he says that one who knows the proportion and measure regard to territory, gain, loss, treasury, population, punishment, all this, that king can retain his kingdom. If he does not know those things, what is the proportion of punishment one should give? What is the measure of gain or loss he should look, or territory he should look, or treasury he should have? If he does not know those things, he will not retain his kingdom. So just like the planets are affected, stars are affected by the planets, he says Vidura here, this whole entire world is affected by the senses when they are directed uncontrolled to their respective objects. This is everything will be affected. Then calamities increase in that case. So that's why one should control the senses. So desires one should control. Again, one who, if one wishes to control the counselors who is giving counsel to you, first one should control oneself. So the person king here, for example, king should be controlling himself. He should have full control over himself, his senses. Then he can look for his counselors, ministers or advisors, whoever it is that's there. He can look to control them. Then Vidura says that if one wishes to, similarly, if one wishes to control his uh, uh, adverse enemies, then he should have control over his counselors. So because if counselors and advisors he does not have control, then he cannot control the enemies. So first control comes from himself, then his advisors and others, then he can look at the controlling the enemies and other things. So that's why one should always uh, one's own self, considering as one's self as senses as the enemy, one should control it, and prosperity comes to that person who controls, subdues his senses, controls his soul, that's his all actions and senses and everything. Such a person is capable of punishing all the offenders and acting in it with proper judgment. And he will be best blessed with the patience. And such a person, that's why controlling the senses, Vidura says that you control those things. And he says this body is like a chariot and its Atma is the driver and the senses are its horses. So, but if you control your horses, then you will have a pleasant journey and your driver Atma, you will reach the destination. Otherwise, if the senses are not controlled, it will only lead to destruction and it will not end in a happy place. It will result in grief and destruction. So that's why one should control the senses. And he says that the person who gives up religion, profit, that is dharma, artha, and leads to his senses, whatever he wishes, uh, his senses desires, such a person loses without delays prosperity, life, wealth, and wife. He loses all those things. But the one who, on the other hand, if one controls the senses, he will attain these things. And he says, Vidura says, the next sentence is important. It comes back again in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says the same thing. Okay, so one should seeks to know one's self. So here, self, there is two meanings of selves here. So one is self is Atma. So the one who wishes to know the Atma, Paramatma, first should control one's mind, buddhi, indriyas, that is senses. He should control those things. So once controlling all those things, then Atma becomes a friend. And if one cannot control the senses, buddhi, mind, all these things, then the Atma itself becomes, and it looks like the person individual, the the individual, the body, becomes the enemy of the Atma itself. So that's why Vidura says that control your senses, desire, anger, all these things, uh, break through the wisdom. They will damage the wisdom. That's why control your senses. So Vidura then says that the one who in this world regarding both dharma, artha, and then seeks to acquire the means of the success wins happiness. So one always look for dharma, artha first, and then that's for such a person. If one tries to achieve something, he will attain the successes. So by controlling the five senses with mind as the origin, then the all the having mastery over those senses, one can control everything. Otherwise, if one is not controlling those things, just like even though the fuel, that is the, let's say, wood here, log, is wet, if you put that wet log in a burning fire, it will get burnt. It will also, that log will also catch fire immediately. Uh, it won't take long for that log to burn away, become an ash. So Vidura says that if one cannot control the, uh, even though person is not sinful, he's a sinless man, he will be equally punished if he cannot control those things. So that's why friendship with uh, sinful people should be avoided. Just like going with it, even though you are a wet log, in this case, sinless person, going into a fire, that means a sinful person's friendship. So Vidura continues and says that from ignorance fails to control five greedy flows. So he says that again, uh, from ignorance, one, if one is ignorant, he cannot control the senses. Uh, Girllessness, simplicity, uh, purity, contentment, sweetness in speech, self-restraint, truth, steadiness, all these are never the attributes of the wicked people, but self-knowledge, that is atmajnana, steadiness, patience, devotion to virtue, competence, and keeping the counsels, charity, all these are the uh, competence of the good people, but they never the competence never exist in the inferior man. So he says that forgiveness is great thing. So if in malice is the strength of the wicked people, in criminal code the strength of the kings, in attentions of the weak and the women. So that's the strength of the kings, and then in forgiveness the is the strength of the virtuous people. And he says that one should control the speech, because controlling the speech is very difficult. If one cannot hold a long conversation, if one is throughout that conversation being meaningful and also delightful to the hearer, listeners, is very difficult. That's why Vidura says that one should always control the speech and speak very less. What is productive and beneficial, the only those things one should speak. And he continues speaking about the speech and other things. We will look at those things next time. And then gradually Vidura starts narrating some stories. So hopefully next week we will touch on some of those stories and examples of what he says next time. Any questions?